Okay, I think it's recording. I'm inspired by this blonde girl to make this video where I sit down and just speak some thoughts in my mind. Um, Her name's Leighton or something like that, Lay, and I've seen her loads. And a lot of people on YouTube, they just sit down and speak. So today's topic, which I'm going to just freestyle quickly, is power. Now, my brain's a bit off because I didn't sleep last night, so I've had one of these nourishment drinks. They're so good, they're like full of vitamins. So I'm in a weird state. I'm kind of caffeined up, steroided up, nutritioned up from that drink, but I didn't sleep, but I feel fresh enough. So here's the thing, power. So there's a few things to say, right? What the point I want to get is that I don't think power is wrong. You hear a lot of people nowadays say power corrupts, or power, it can corrupt for sure, but they say it's bad, they say it's wrong. I think power is power, and it's who's holding the gun. Power's like a gun, and it's who's holding the gun. And here's the thing I saw this morning that's blown my mind. One almost 2-hour documentary about Jim Jones. Jim Jones, man, crazy story. This guy, this is real. Long story short, preacher man in America he was, before blacks and whites were together and stuff like that, and he said, come to the church, blacks and whites, everyone welcome, we're going to be a big family. And these people were rejected a lot, the homeless people and all sorts, and he gave them a family and a place, and he was good to them, and he was truly good to them, and he had a good vision and a good mission. At some point he's getting heat because he's been getting close with some of the girls in the congregation. They think he's a bit of a messiah. He was faking miracles and stuff like that, but no one knew that at the time until after he died. So people thought he was like blessed by God or something like that. And in the end, and I can't really fully wrap my head around this, they go to South America. This is real. He has 1,000 of them, 900, let's call it 1,000 people come with him to South America from America. Sorry, to yeah, I think it was South America, like somewhere really far off, right? Somewhere around Nicaragua or something, like, a random country like that. I think the country was called Guarania or something like that. And in the end, they're getting heat because he's been running it badly. He's been giving drugs to some of the people to help them feel better. He's been taking drugs. I think at some point where he's been getting close to some of the people sexually, but that's seen as abuse because of his power. But the people probably wouldn't have said that, the people themselves, but loads of things were happening where the authorities wanted to crack down on it, and it was like a communist thing he was running, a real one too. It was mostly working from what I gather, and I think, that whole idea of winners write history applies here, because they all died, all of them, pretty much all of them, like 99.9%. So here's what happened. He said, people came, it's an amazing story, if you see the whole thing, but authorities from America, a high up man, a congressman, I don't know what that is, someone in the government, right, was coming with a camera, with a journalist, to show what's going on, to find out if he really is a good man or not. And he didn't want this because he was sure that they were going to frame him either way. I think the truth is he was a bit of a con man in reality. And it was getting worse. He got worse. His followers say he went from being a truly good man to power itself did corrupt him in this case, and also the drugs. He was taking drugs. Long story short, as this congressman leaves with some of his audience, 20 people come along of the 1,000, and it's the first time people have deflected, they've left, and he thought, this is it, this is the crack in the dam, and it's going to fuck everything up, and everyone's going to leave, it's all going to fuck up, is how he felt shortly. But he had one of his followers shoot the people as they were flying off, and because they'd shot and killed a government official and others, he knew, and he had a good point to his people. He said, look, they're going to come for us, they're going to kill us, they're going to shoot us, but some of the kids are going to get shot. They had 300 children. And so he did something which I can't really wrap my head around still. He had Kool-Aid with cyanide in there, and he had the people drink it. Everyone drank it. Most of them willfully, because they loved him, and they said he made a good point. I listened to the audio, it was crazy. He was preaching, and he believed it. The point I wanted to make is he had power. and he started doing something good. And I think this is the biggest fumble in history, because he had 1,000. Here's the thing: he had 1,000 people. Think of the loyalty. Think of the loyalty. I don't think I've ever seen another demonstration of power this great, ever. Ever. I can't think of one. Not even people going to war. Because if you go to war for a man, for a king, for a leader, you might die, but you might win and live. But he said, no, we're all going to die now. We're all going to take our lives in a revolutionary fashion as a protest to the world. That's what he said. I listened to the audio. And he had some people say, oh, why don't we live on? He's like, look, it's too late for us. Russia won't take us because we've just killed a congressman. And he was a serious communist. So he said, look, one of our members has just shot a government official. And as far as I'm concerned, I just shot him, because we're a team together, aren't we? We're all going to go down together. And they ended up saying, yeah. And you could hear people, it's crazy. This man had power, enough power to get 1,000 people to end their life, which is all they have. Your life is all you have. So that what higher loyalty could you show? They all ended their life for him, which is quite revolutionary. Like a prophet, he was saying he was a prophet on that day. He said, I now speak to you as a prophet. And what I think is, what a fumble, because he had the power and he used it for bad. And people close to me told me that story, and their point was power corrupts. But I don't see it like that. Power did corrupt this guy, and drugs fucked him up. But power doesn't have to corrupt. If you are grounded in a moral framework that you stick to, you would be a worthy king. You would be a worthy leader. One would be a worthy prophet or whatever, leader. That is what we need. That's what we need in this world. We need. Here's the problem. We have a lot of. I go to the pub sometimes, and there's a great guy there, Jack, and he's been telling me about communism, and he's like, I'm a communist, and he's got some great points. And he says, wouldn't you prefer everyone that you know be all right, or some people be really rich and most people you know be struggling to get by? I see his point. It's nicer to think everyone around will be all right. It's nicer, but communism, when it is done, it's usually the masses have just about enough, and then a few people have everything. It usually fucks up. Communism doesn't really work because it doesn't align with natural human competitiveness in life. So this is why capitalism is better, because it aligns with what we already are, and it's fairer. Because if you give, but that's a different point. That's not what I'm trying to talk about today. I prefer capitalism, but people around me are like thinking power is immoral. Power itself is immoral because one, it can corrupt, and two, they just think power itself is immoral. So they end up hating people like Elon Musk. Oh, he's bad because he's got power, because he's rich. No, I totally disagree and reject that. And I guess the point I want to make, because I'm kind of tired and it's not going to be the best point, it could be if I had slept. Power can corrupt, but it doesn't have to if you're grounded in morality. So what we have is a bunch of moral people who would be great leaders, the best leaders, but they're too moral. They're so moral that they say, actually winning isn't fair. It's not fair to win over my fellow man because we're all just flesh and blood. It's not even fair to be a winner, to be a king, to be a leader. So what ends up happening is they leave and they become communists, and they say, we're all just the same, man. Pass me the weed, bro. We're all the same, bro. We're all 5'9", bro. I'm not. That's what happens, and that's the more weed, the more mushrooms they have. They talk like that, and the problem is, it's not true. We're not all the same, but that's not the point I wanted to make. My brain turned back on because I lost the point. It was that. Yeah, if you have all these people who would be great moral leaders be too moral to the point where they're saying, actually, winning is immoral. Having more money than someone is immoral. That's not fair. That's not right. We're all the same, man. We should all have the same, bro. When you get too moral, you're just chained. You're just chained in morality. I can't win. I'm chained up. I'm chained up I'm chained up. What is the saying? Crabs in a bucket. It's kind of like you're forcing yourself to be a crab I'm kind of using that in the wrong place. It's kind of like you're forcing yourself to be staying at the bottom. No, we need this is a problem. We have all the extremely moral people that would be great leaders checking out of the game because they think winning itself is immoral. And guess who's left to be a leader and a winner? When all the really moral guys check out of the game and live in the forest and build a community, bro, and we're all the same. You're just left with the psychopaths. You're just left with the psychopaths that never had any morals to begin with. And then you end up with Jim Jones, the guy I just was speaking about, who was a bit of a, they said he was a sociopath or whatever, he's half psychopathic then, and it was all about him and his power, but it started quite good. He had selfish motivations, but he was doing good with it, but that's always a slippery slope if they're psychopathic, or too psychopathic. You could be a bit psychopathic and be good, but too psychopathic you're probably going to struggle to be good, unless you're grounded in morality, right? So my point was, power isn't wrong, power is amazing. It's just the gun, it's who's holding it and what are they grounded in. So what we need is more moral people with a morality that's something like this: humanity to infinity. How about that for now? Humanity to infinity, and for each individual to infinity, humanity to infinity. I love that. That's for everyone. That's for you as an individual. That's for the community. That's for your country. That's for the world. That's for progress. That is perfect. Humanity to infinity, grounded in truth. That ideology is, and that's it in a line. And it's a philosophical framework I want to build based on truth with people as a YouTube series, which I'm going to do. But for now, let's just say that humanity to infinity. I like that. It rings good, you know. And if we do that, we ground ourselves in morality. Well, would this act help humanity in the long run or hinder humanity? It would hinder. Okay, let's do the right thing then. What would put humanity to infinity, to the greatest success for everyone? When you do, and that doesn't mean going full communist where you say, hey man, we're not going to invent any new technology because that means I'd have to overtake someone and I'd have to be better. Be better. Capitalism mogs. So I guess what I'm trying to say is power doesn't have to corrupt. Power's a great thing. Don't regret power. Don't be too moral and too smart and too liberal and say, you know what, it's immoral to have more. No, be great, fly to the top, humanity to infinity. The secret is stay grounded in morality. That's what I plan to do on my journey to the top. I plan to stay grounded in morality. And when that question comes of, hey, do you want to do this crazy thing? Hey, we could make more money, but the people would suffer. Or, hey, we could make more money here, but people would be ill. Big pharma, right? Or we can make more money here, but you'd have to sell guns. People will get shot. No, I don't want to do that business. Thanks very much. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when you're given the choice to do a moral or an immoral business, but if you deep morals too much, you're chained, right? You end up, if you put too much weight on morals, you end up saying shit like the communist boy, who I like, Jack, very much. But he's chained, you know, in that whole thing of no one should have more. No one should have $1 trillion. Why not? Elon, who else is more deserving of $1 trillion than Elon? And then people say, does he give any to charity? Yes, he does. More than probably anyone on the planet. Oh, but that's nothing compared to what he's done. I think he's given, I don't know, 20%, something crazy. I know Bill Gates has given something like that, and I'm not a fan of him anyway, but it's funny. It's like, people, if you use morality too much, you're just chained. If you don't use it at all, humanity goes to the toilet. It's like pressing the big red button, watching the world burn. What's the point in that? In fact, that was what my friend Jack said at the pub. He said, would you prefer press the red button, watch the world burn, but you get rich all alone? Or would you prefer everyone you know be alright? And I don't think that's the only options. I think we can succeed as individuals and everyone can be alright, generally. That's what I think. So I don't think it's that black and white. But I guess the moral of this rambling is power doesn't have to corrupt as long as you stay morally grounded. And if you don't stay morally grounded, you have nothing. You're just a feather in the wind. Even if you get huge success like Jim Jones, he was powerful. He had 1,000 people's lives in his hands. Do you know what he could have done? They were willing to die for him, and they all did. They said, oh, we're going to die now. Yep, we're going to die. Revolutionary suicide. And they all did it. They all did it. Search this up. Jim Jones, revolutionary suicide. 1,000 people, almost 1,000, 909, committed suicide for him. So if he had 1,000 people in his hand like that, that gave up the most valuable thing they have, their actual lives, what level of good could he have done? He could have said, guys, you're willing to die already for this. Let's somehow get to Russia. That was a plan where they wanted to go, where they might have been given a safe haven. They should have said, let's just find a way, let's just go there and like hound at them and try and get in. And if we all die, well, at least we died trying. He could have done that, but he didn't, and I don't respect it at all. 0% respect, because he could have. I mean, it is quite a hard thing to ask all those children to go through, but then it was a hard thing to ask them all to die. It's like certain death, or we might win. But he, as a leader, he made that decision. But I don't know, man. That was the wrong decision. That was the wrong decision. He had the power in his hands that he could have done something great. He could have done something so great. So he fumbled it. But it's not the power corrupted in his case, but it doesn't have to. But you have to be grounded, though, which is why I'm working to ground myself and others in a new philosophical framework, a new religion based on absolute, provable, scientific, mathematic, logical truth. Not falsehoods, reality only provable shit. No faith needed. That's where I'm at. And yeah, power is good when grounded in a true, morally upright philosophy that puts humanity towards infinity. That's what I believe. But it's not really a belief thing, it's kind of just like, that's what is. That's what is. So yeah. And this video is really just a trial of me sitting down, speaking in front of the camera, which I haven't done for a long time. And it's because of Kira, or that kind of, I'm very tired. But yeah, it's because of her that I've made this video, and I'll probably do more when I think of other things I want to talk about, and I'll speak louder and better. On this occasion I'm speaking quietly, but yeah, I'm happy with this, and yeah, humanity to infinity I think is the way, and power is good when grounded in morality. That's what I believe.